Welcome to the Premium Mindset, the weekly podcast where homegrown entrepreneurs and business owners Evan Ritchie and Cameron Bodden share the good, the bad, and the ugly of modern entrepreneurship and reveal what really happens behind the scenes of their personal and professional lives. As owners of two of America's fastest growing and most disruptive companies, Coconut Cleaning and Green Mango Pest Control, stay tuned for real stories, struggles, insight, and advice from real entrepreneurs in real time.
What's going on, everyone? I'm excited to discuss today's topic of leveraging yourself. It's a topic that I've been working on for many, many years, and we're going to dive in the dichotomy of attempting to leverage yourself as an entrepreneur, as a father, and in any facet of life. As always, I'm excited, to talk about this with Cameron and to really kick this topic off. Cameron, leveraging to yourself, what do you think of when someone says, man, how do I leverage myself? How do I have more of me in my business?
I'm excited to talk about this because up until maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I used to think leveraging yourself just meant hiring someone to do a position that you no longer want to do. And I think that's where 90% of business owners are and the questions that they have. But what I'm learning is that I'm really great at leveraging myself through other people. But what I'm not great about is almost trusting them fully and having to go back in some areas. It's micromanaging, which I want to get into and why I do that. But I feel like there's two parts to leveraging yourself. There's one, just being willing to let go and say, hey, I'm going to hire this technician to go do the route. And then two, trusting that person that they're going to fully do the job correctly.
When I think of leveraging yourself, I specifically went to an experience that I had. I don't know if you remember, I sent you pictures of the food truck that I went to with some of the guys at Coconut.
Yeah, the one that you waited in line for 2 hours or something?
2 hours. Okay?
Bro, how do you do that?
Well, first you just check this guy's Instagram and the pictures of the food. You'll go sit in line.
It's
for 2 hours.
You ate a little bit of food before and then you ate again.
You snack throughout.
Okay,
and then,
I like it.
Okay, but this is why I thought of him when we said, hey, let's talk about leveraging. It's Randizzle's food truck. And if you visit his Instagram, every picture of all the food, it just looks amazing. And he says, every week he says, hey, this is where I'm going to be. This is where my food truck's going to be. And a frequent question that people ask is, why aren't these people in restaurants, right? Specifically some that are very successful.
Why is he a food truck? Why isn't he a restaurant so
Yes.
they can serve more people?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes. This guy has 60, 70, 80,000 followers. I forget how much. And the reputation is that, hey, if you come to one of these events, it's going to be a couple hours until you get your food. Who goes to any world-renowned restaurant and is okay waiting 2 hours for their food?
Most of the time it's a reservation or...
Yes, and he's mastered supply and demand, and he says, hey, look, I am the source of getting this amazing food.
What kind of food is it?
It's burgers, it's burgers and fries, and it's just American food, okay? So we go and we get in line, and what's crazy is that, the line is only about 60 people when we get there. And I realized quickly, as I walked up to the front at a few of the guys, stay in line, the guy is not in the food truck. He's talking to everybody.
There's no chef?
There are people in the food truck making the food.
Okay,
But I'm this is Randizzle's food truck, Randy, but he's up front at the cash register talking to people. They're like, oh, what do I get? And he's sitting there, dude, I would definitely recommend going this one and this one. I'm like, man, what an experience that this guy has developed the craft of making some amazing food. But I didn't sit there and interview him, but I found out through a very small conversation that he just loves people. And he said, my favorite thing growing up was I wanted to find any way that I could to bring my loved ones into the same room. And it just came about through making food. And we get up there, he's talking to us. This is what I'd recommend. He goes in there and he cooks a little bit, but he comes out and I'm sitting there when you said, hey, let's do leveraging yourself. I'm like, man, this guy has created such a cool experience for people where they know when they go to get in line for his food, they're going to have to wait, but they know that 2-minute window of getting up to that register and talking to this guy and how passionate he is about his food. And hey, I would get that. Hey, do you want sweet, savory? You're like, it's a burger. What do you mean? He's like, well, I got a peanut butter and jelly burger. I'm like, that's got to be disgusting. He's like, you'd be surprised. I've mastered how much peanut butter goes in here, how much jelly goes in here, where it goes in the burger, so that your experience eating my food is the best and you're always going to want to come back. And so I've found in my experience through leverage is people, top performers, find out what they are best at, where their zone of genius is, and they find every possible resource to do that thing as much as possible, as long as it drives the bottom line. If you have a really good knack for doing something that doesn't really move the needle as an entrepreneur, it's just not going to work out for you to do that thing. Like, some entrepreneurs are so scared to do sales, but they're like, man, reporting I'm so good at. Your garage business, your HVAC business isn't going to survive if you're really good at reports, but you need to do HVAC. And so I saw this guy and I'm like, man, he's so good at creating a really good customer experience. And he taught a few people how to make the burger, how he makes it exactly. And I think of me and my time at Coconut, and I've done a lot of reflection over the last year, asking myself, like, what is it that I'm good at? Like, what do people appreciate from my leadership and what really moves the needle?
Yeah.
And I feel like the answer has come to, like, I just love my people. And I love those little one-on-one meetings with my people. And I feel like more than just like I'm a decent conversationalist one-on-one, I can help people see what's in it for them respective to their department and their responsibility, and how driving the maximum production helps them get the pay that they want. It helps the department run efficiently as possible. And I've done my best to find what individual leaders' best skills are and try to find ways in which they do that thing more. And sometimes that comes in the name of, hey, I see these 3 things are bogging you down, having to do reports or having to do the administrative aspect of your job. Let's hire someone to do, all the report taking, all the auditing, so that you can just be on the phones doing sales. Because when you're not on the phone doing sales and you have to give that responsibility to somebody else, there's something about when you take a call versus someone else that in 10 calls, you'll close 9, they'll close 6. And that difference is a lot. So
how do you leverage that though? Because that takes a lot of time. And I think a lot of people could liken that to being on the truck. You're probably a better carpet cleaner than most your guys, but you know that you can't service, 100 customers a day. You have to leverage yourself and hire other people. Now you've decided, hey, my zone of excellence is communicating with people, finding out, where their pain points are. So how have you justified that? And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but if you meet with 9 managers for 30, how long do you meet with them for each week? 30 minutes, an hour?
I think it's written down 30 minutes, but it usually ends up being, 45 minutes to an hour.
So 45 minutes, almost a full day of these interviews. How do you leverage yourself how do you decide this is the right place for me to be if you're wanting to continue to grow?
I feel like a lot of that equation I've learned from you, but one person in particular that I feel might help answer that and how I approach the situation in attempting to figure out the ROI on placing people where they're best skilled is Elsa. Elsa, what's so funny to me now is that...
And to describe who Elsa, and maybe you're going to go into that, but...
So Elsa is forgive me on the title, Elsa, if you see this, but I think she's designer. Creative designer, graphic designer now. But what's funny is that her husband worked as a salesman at Coconut 2 years ago. And he said, hey, I heard you're starting some school fundraising program and realtor program. My wife knocked doors for pest control. She's a go-getter. I talked to her. It's very clear that she needs to come on board and come work with us. She's very talented. But here's where I think of leveraging and I think of Elsa. Is we gave her that position to do sales for fundraising and door knocking. But there was a moment where she picked up a school for fundraising, but the marketing team wasn't able to put the marketing assets together for the presentation. So like that night, video, right? Yeah, the hype video. That night, she whipped something together. You, me, Kate, and a few others showed up and she played it. And we're like,
Who did this?
Who did this? She was like, oh, I'm sorry guys, I didn't get it approved like I did because, you know, we just booked the school and they wanted to see us. They weren't able to do this. So I just put, you know, I put this thing together. And right away, okay, so you asked, how do you, you know, one, how do you place other people to do some of your responsibilities, but also other employees? How do you find a way to get the ROI on putting them where they're, we always say, right bus, wrong seat. And I think Elsa right there, we were like, we can find almost anyone to come and do the school fundraising and the realtor position. But what we can't find is someone with a knack for design. Like you just put that video together.
Yeah.
Make a few, like, I think we gave her a few others to do, like, hey, could you do this video for us and put this marketing piece together? Not only was she doing it faster than others, she was also like, for whatever reason, she just was on point with the brand and our vision for what should be done on every marketing piece. And so we said, Elsa, it's entirely up to you, but you have a skill that we can't find elsewhere and we also can't teach. Can you come into this position as a creative or graphic designer and help us on the graphic design portion of videography, our website, you name it? And we found a pay that's right for her,
which was an increase.
It was an increase, and she's not only happy, but she is now doing in her own words what she loves all day long versus something that she enjoyed, you know, from a sales perspective. And I think that happens in almost every department when someone shines in their own, you know, in their own way.
Well, that's why I want to talk about, there's really twofold. If you're listening to this podcast and you're an owner of a business, you're hearing this podcast in the light of, okay, how do I get out of this position that I'm doing and move on to the next thing? But also, if you're not a business owner, and I love that you shared that story, because if you're not a business owner, you're asking yourself, how do I leverage myself to level up in my pay? Maybe I'm making $16, $17 an hour right now. How do I leverage up? And I think, and why I love the Elsa story, and she just happened to do it, but I want to point it out, is that there's always opportunities within a company for you to step out of line, but in a good way. Do something for free to just show your boss or your manager, hey, I'm capable of this. And whether you do it 10 times or 20 times or whatever, if you're good enough at it, then they'll put you in a position to now do that one thing. And I just don't think there's a lot of people out there that put themselves out. They just have their 9 to 5, they have their job responsibilities, and they just kind of stay in that lane rather than looking for opportunities to jump out of the box, which is going to get you that leverage up. And if we're saying leverage up is more money, then that's great. Or doing what you love. Maybe Elsa didn't love doing the fundraising, but she loves designing. And so even if it didn't come with an increase in pay, she now does what she loves. One of the, I love talking about Mickey. He came in, I found this video. I showed it yesterday at a manager meeting. It was 2018. He looked like this little boy. Mickey is our president of sales, and he was working for another pest control company. And what's funny is my good buddy, Ben Ashby, he didn't work for us at the time, Ben never was a door-to-door salesman, but he talks about TriBlock technology probably better than most people in this office building. And so on the video, I wasn't there, but there's this cockroach going across the house that they were at playing pickleball. And we didn't service that house. The other company did. And Ben was trying to convince Mickey on why TriBlock technology is so much better, why there wouldn't be roaches at that house. But I just loved it because now Mickey didn't. From Ben? Huh?
Mickey came from Ben?
It's like a weird, I was trying to explain the story. They tried to recruit him that year. He went back and worked for the pest control company. He'd travel all around. I don't know what state he went to. And then he came back and reached out to Dusty. And that's so yes, Ben, and he reached out the year after, but Ben definitely planted the seed. But what I love about Mickey is that when he came on, he said, hey, I have this termite program. Let me come in. Let me see if it can work. And if it works, he knew it would work because he was doing it at the other company. Let's figure out a compensation plan. But let me come in and I'll do it for free. What do I have to lose as an owner? Nothing. Like, he wants to come prove himself. And of course it works. If it works, we'll work out a compensation plan where everyone's happy. That's the win-win. That's how you leverage up if you're an employee working for someone else. The other way that as a business owner, sometimes it's hard to leverage up or leverage yourself. But I also think when I think of leveraging yourself, I keep saying leverage up. I think of leveling up as well, because that's what you're doing as an owner. You're leveling up. And one of the things that I feel like, and I don't want to come on these podcasts and act like I know everything, because I don't. But what I feel like is the right way right now is surrounding yourself with people that have been where you want to go. So for me, I'm talking a lot with Tommy Mello, and this is like this subject alone, because when I see he has over 800 employees, but he's never, my perception, and maybe he is, but it always seems like he's working on getting that next thing. He's not in the business working. And once he hires someone for a position, I don't see him micromanaging that person. And so when I was talking to him over the weekend, that was my first question. I'm good at leveraging myself through hiring other people. But what I'm bad at is having that trust with people that once I hire that person, until I have that confidence, some people it's a couple months, some people it's a couple years. And maybe that's an answer in and of itself. But there's, out of 8 departments, there's probably 3 or 4, like, I'm constantly feeling like I have to micromanage. I hate it. The employee or the manager probably hates it. How do you get out of it? And the thing that it's coming down to, and I can't wait to, we were in a loud room talking about it, but I want to sit down at a table where it's quiet and it's just us. But what I hear him saying is that I've perfected the manuals that explains the position. And then I've helped them create guidelines, systems, and processes that alert me right away when it's not happening. And a lot of that I'm learning is almost taking the human element out of the system and process, because I've had people where the system and process was put into place, but if that human was being lazy, let's say truck inspections, every single week our field managers have to do truck inspections. If that field manager doesn't want to do a truck inspection that week and just pass it off because he's being lazy, he can do that and I'll never know. I still pay out the bonus. I hate that. And so how can I put a system in place to where it takes the human element out of it, or takes the invested interest person that's getting the bonus? So maybe a different field manager inspecting the other team's trucks, or the branch manager inspecting. That's what I'm working on right now. And I'm excited about it because I feel like that's the next level up, and how you leverage yourself to put people in the positions and then set it and almost forget about it. To a point in my mind, once a month, go check the KPIs, make sure that they're being reported properly. And then I'm working on the business. Like, that's where I want to get to, but I'm not there right now.
I'm glad you brought that up. I have seen a few videos of these top performers, and what I enjoy so much about Tommy is he's so open about his own perceived inadequacies. And one thing that he refers to a lot as his superpower is his ADHD. And what I like about the idea and coupling the idea of leveraging yourself, but also kind of how do you leverage yourself? You write down exactly what it is, like back to Randizzle's food truck. He has probably spent a lot of hours with those people, and he says, this is how you put this burger together. And like, this is the kind of passion, this is how you do it. And I love so much what you're doing with the manual. I saw a video the other day, because I've been going through this topic a lot, of one avenue of leveraging yourself is writing down step by step how to do something that you do. And it was the idea that McDonald's has created such a thorough system that teenagers can run a store. Multi-million-dollar store. And he said, what is so fascinating about McDonald's and Chick-fil-A is that they have a system behind the counter that is so, like, this guy clocks in, it tells him the exact station you need to be. And it's almost like childlike drawings of, like, grab bun, like hand grabbing a bun, goes on the paper, then you do it this. And then after 10 burgers, you turn around to the hand washing station and this is how you wash your hands. But it won't allow them to grab another bun at the 10th bun. The machine says, hey, you've grabbed 10, it's hand washing time now. So now you have to turn over and they clock it. They scan their tag to hand wash and then they turn back around.
I haven't been to McDonald's in a while, so I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
That's
me either.
crazy.
Of course not. I would never go there. But my thoughts have turned to that. And I think the ultimate compliment as a business owner is being able to step away for a month and not have your phone ring, but almost not have your phone ring, where if any fires come up, hey, did you do this, this, and this? Did you call this person? Did we contact our insurance? This is exactly what you do for every aspect. And so I think about the headaches that we have, and I think about the idea of leveraging myself. And like Sabina the other day, she's my assistant. Yeah, she's my assistant. And I hate Tuesdays because she's like, hey, I have to leave an hour early to go help this person, set up their computer to the TV for presenting to everybody in a manager meeting. And I said, can you just record yourself showing them how to do it and then send that to everyone so that I don't lose an hour with you every Tuesday? And she's like, sure, I guess I can do that. But I only think that way now because of people like you that have coached me in this, entrepreneurial journey of mine, where you say, hey, totally fine, but why are you doing this? Or you bug me about like, hey, why are you ordering the food? I'm like, because, like, for me to text Sabina the orders, it's the same thing as me just ordering, but you're constantly on me about, one, delegation, but Evan, do what it is that you're good at and leave the rest to other people to do. And that's what they're good at. And I think that's the ultimate goal for any entrepreneur. If you leverage yourself and set up your business in a way, it allows you to step away, be with your family more, or do whatever you'd like to do more. But if you don't even want to step away, you have the peace of mind knowing that everybody knows exactly what to do in case of some type of fire. And speaking literally to fires, that's why when you have certain buildings for city codes, they have to have on certain walls, like, in case of a fire, go down this hallway into this door. Even though you're in this small building, you're like, really?
Yeah, the stairway's right there.
But it's very simple things to do and to fall back on when you're not thinking clearly. And I think that's a lot of leveraging yourself too with other people.
Yeah. And that's the crappy part as a business owner, right? Is that anytime something doesn't go right or that they don't do something the way that you'd like them to do, you're forced to take it on the chin because you don't have it written down. And that's why I think the answer is to having those manuals that literally walk you step by step. Because if they didn't have the system, and that's taking the human element out of it, going back to McDonald's, if they just said, hey, after every 10 buns, wash your hands, who's doing that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
But the little thing shuts down and they have to. And I think on this topic, it's an ongoing principle that you and I are experiencing day in and day out, not only with ourselves, but also I think nothing kills you more when you see Kathleen scanning documents. Kathleen is probably the world's best human resource manager and dealing with people and conflict and sticky situations. And every once in a while, you'd be like, why is Kathleen scanning papers? And then you go to her and she's like, oh, I don't mind it. Like, I have to, like, these are important documents that need to be scanned. And you're constantly like, Kathleen, I'll get somebody else that, not necessarily enjoys doing that, but their time is far less valuable than yours than to sit at a document scanner for 30 minutes and scan documents. And so as a business owner, it's our responsibility to constantly find ways for our people to leverage what they do best and what they enjoy most. And I think the ROI is incalculable. And I think that it's our responsibility to ensure that not only we're leveraging ourselves, but also we're, leveraging the people around us to ensure that, the business is running at, optimal levels.
Yeah. And if you're an employee, look for those opportunities to find for your employer. Because if you can find a way to save money, they'll find a position for you as maybe the auditor.
Can I just say real quick?
Please.
There's a technician at Coconut. His name is Cyrus. Obnoxious. He came to me.
You want that on record?
No, I want that on record. Okay. And here's why. He came to us as skilled salesman, but we didn't have room for him directly as a salesperson. So he had to be a tech for a little bit. We prefaced that.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. I see this guy waiting outside my office one day. I open the door and he's like, hey man, I'm going to be the best salesman you ever had. They're not letting me be a salesman yet. I guess I have to be a technician, but like, I promise you, I'll make you a lot of money. I'm like, okay, cool, man. Like I didn't throw my managers under the bus. I just said, hey, cool. Like whatever they have you doing, like I trust them. But then I pulled Cole in. I said, hey, this guy, I love the confidence. He's like, dude, he's got to be this for a little bit. A couple days later, Cyrus is waiting for me. He's like, I'm still not a salesman. Yeah, I'm still a tech. Like, I promise you I'll make you more money. Like, just hounding me, putting himself out there, waiting after hours. And then we finally gave him an opportunity because of the hounding. And he has outperformed every salesman the last few days. He's 2 days being a salesperson, and he's outperformed every other salesperson both days on the van. Oh. And so put yourself in a situation that's uncomfortable and fight and do anything that you can to show people, you know, what it is that you have to bring value in your business.